Do angels exist? What are angels? Why did God create them? Let's study some angelology. Now, the Hebrew word for angels is malak. Malak. Malak simply means a messenger, an angel, a class of being that's going to be important that serves God, often to communicate with or rescue his faithful on earth. And then the Greek word for angel is angelos. Angelos. And angelos means, a sent one, again, messenger. And it can refer to an angelic messenger. So a memory verse for this study is going to be found in Revelation 5:11 through 12. It says, "Then I looked and I heard the voice of many angels around the throne and the living creatures. Those are the other beings, the elders, and the number of them was myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing." So, what are angels? Dr. Wayne Grudem, in his systematic theology on page 397, he says angels are created spiritual beings with moral judgment and high intelligence, but without physical bodies. So we know that angels are created spiritual beings. This is important. Angels have not always existed. They are a part of the universe that God created. And so verses like Nehemiah 9 and 6 says, "You alone are Yahweh. You have made the heavens, the creator. He's the creator of the heaven of heavens with all their host." And then it goes on, "You give life to them, and the heavenly host bows down to you." And so that Hebrew word for host there refers to an army, the angelic army. So angels have moral judgment. This is seen in the fact that some of the angels sinned and fell from their original position. So you have verses like 2 Peter 2:1, Jude 6, which talks about the angels sinning and being cast into the pit for darkness and judgment. Angels who do not keep their proper domain, their own domain, but abandon their proper abode. So some angels did sin. And so that shows that they have the capabilities, the functions of morality and moral judgment. Angels are highly intelligent. This is seen throughout Scripture when they're speaking to people. So you have Matthew 28, verse 5. Matthew 28, verse number 5, when it says, "And the angel answered and said to the women, Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who has been crucified." So the angels, they're intelligent. They knew that the women were looking for Jesus. Then we go to Acts chapter 12. Acts chapter 12, starting in verse 6, when Peter is delivered from prison. He's sleeping between two soldiers. He's bound with chains. There's guards watching the front of the door. And it says, "Behold," verse 7, "behold, an angelos, angelou to kuriou, an angel of the Lord, appeared. He struck Peter's side and woke him up. He said, 'Rise up quickly.' And his chains fell off. And he said, 'Gird yourself, put on your clothes, put on your sandals. Follow me. Follow me.'" And then it talks about, immediately the angel departed him. So how they speak to people shows their intelligence. And also in the verse we just read in Revelation 5 and in Revelation 4, angels are seeing, these created beings are singing praises to God. This takes intellect to formulate words and to realize why you are worshiping the person you are worshiping. Angels do not have physical bodies. Angels do not have physical bodies. This is seen in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14, and in other places as well, where the angels are called spirits. They're called spirits, so they don't have physical bodies. He says, are they not all ministering pneumata? Are they not all ministering spirits? Spirits, and he's clearly referring in the context to angels, but he calls them spirits. They are spiritual creatures. They do not ordinarily have physical bodies. And that is that they're usually invisible. We don't see them unless God gives or grants us a spiritual ability to see them. So Numbers 24:39, he says, see my hands. Jesus says, see my hands and my feet. That is, I myself. Touch me and see. For a spirit, Jesus says, a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see that I have. So angels are spiritual beings. They do not have physical bodies. Other names for angels, they're called sons of God, B'nai Elohim. They're called the holy ones in various places. They're called spirits. They're called watchers, especially in the book of Daniel. They're called thrones, dominions, principalities, authorities in Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. Now, there are other kinds of heavenly beings. There's three that we see. We see the cherubim. The cherubim. These are they guarded the Garden of Eden, and we're told that God is enthroned on the cherubim, and he uses them as his chariot. He travels with them. Psalm 18 verse 10, and Ezekiel chapter 10, Ezekiel chapter 1. Powerful descriptions of angelic beings. And then you have the seraphim. The seraphim from seraph means, the burning, or to burn, fiery. So these are the burning ones. And in Isaiah chapter 6, we see that they are guardians of God's glory. They protect his glory. And then you have the Zoe, the living creatures. They surround the throne of God. They're crying out constantly, "Word, holy, holy, holy." They're shouting back and forth in a heavenly call and response. And we know they're described as a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle. So those are the living creatures that are in the book of Revelation and in the book of Ezekiel. Angels are not omnipresent. Angels are not omnipresent, which means they cannot be everywhere at once. They're not God. Now, yes, there can be a multitude of angels in one place. We see, like at the birth of Jesus, the angelic host appeared and things like that. And then in Revelation, we see myriads and myriads of angels together. But Scripture often represents angels that they have to travel from one place to another. So they're not omnipresent. In Luke chapter 1, Gabriel was sent from God. Gabriel was sent from God. Then you get to Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, verse 12 through 14, and he talks about how this angel touches him. He says, "Do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you gave your heart to understand." So the first day that you sat down to pray and to understand, to humble yourselves before God, your words were heard, and I have come in response. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was standing against me for 21 days. And then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Now I had been left there with the kings of Persia. And so it goes on, and we see that there are, territorial spirits and things like that. So the idea that an angel can only be in one place at one time is consistent with the fact that angels are created beings. How many angels are there? How many angels are there? We don't have a specific number. We don't have a specific number, but scripture does seem to imply in multiple places that there's a very great number of angels. Deuteronomy 33, verse 2. And he came from the midst of 10,000 holy ones. At his right hand, there were flashing lights for them. Psalm 68:17. The chariots of God, those angels, are tens of thousands and thousands of thousands. Multitude of angels. Multitude of angels. Here's another very, very important question. Do people, have individual guardian angels? Again, if you like this content, hit the like button, share, subscribe, comment below. It helps the algorithm, helps the video get out to more people. So please, if you like this, hit the like button, share, subscribe. The Bible clearly teaches us that God sends angels for our protection. We see that in various places. We see that in Psalms 91. But the question, does God give specific guardian angel for each individual in the world? Or at least for each Christian? Does each Christian have a guardian angel? And one of the verses that they tend to use is Matthew 18:10, where it says that, see that you do not despise one of the little ones. For I say to you that their angels in heaven continually see the face of my Father who is in heaven. And there's various interpretations of that verse. Scripture doesn't clearly state that everyone has a guardian angel, but angels do protect humans and believers. The power of angels. Angels have great power, but they are not omnipotent. They are not all powerful. They're called mighty ones in the book of Psalms, and angels are seemingly greater in might and power than humans. When were the angels created? The angels must have been created before the seventh day of creation. And we know Genesis 2:1. The heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, and using host to refer, as the Bible often does, to angels. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. So they had to have been created before the seventh day when God rested. So we know that the angels were at least created by the sixth day of creation. What is the place of angels in God's purpose? Angels show the greatness of God's love and plan for us. Yes, and this is seen in how angels, yet some angels sin, but they're not going to be redeemed. God's love is seen in how he interacts with humans. Angels remind us that the unseen world is real. The unseen world is real. Angels are an example for us, and they obey God. They worship him. Angels carry out some of his plans, and angels directly glorify God. Now, how do we relate to angels? We should be aware of angels in our daily lives. The scripture tells us in Hebrews that sometimes we can entertain angels unaware. So we should be aware of their activity in our lives. When we worship God, we are joining the angels and the living creatures in heaven in heavenly worship, along with the believers who have passed on before us. We should be aware that angels are watching our obedience and our disobedience to God throughout the day. That's an extra form uh, a deterrent to sin. That knowing that not only is God watching, but millions and millions of angels are watching as well. Some of the cautions: we need to be aware of receiving false doctrine from angels. Joseph Smith, Mormonism, and things like that. But Paul warns very strongly in Galatians. Well, he also says very clearly in 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14, says, and no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Therefore, it is not surprising if his ministers, his servants, also disguise themselves as ministers of righteousness. So, angels can deceive. The fallen angels can deceive, so we need to be careful. And then Galatians 1:8, Paul says, but if we or an angel from heaven should proclaim to you, to preach to you a gospel contrary to the gospel we have proclaimed, let him be accursed. We're told we don't worship angels. We don't pray to angels. We shouldn't seek angels. And then the last question that we're going to deal with: do angels appear to people today? Early on in the church, angels were active. We see that in the book of Acts. And then we see in Hebrews 13, the author is writing, and clearly this is some of the first century. So in the early church, after the resurrection of Christ, angels are still appearing. And because he gives this solemn warning: do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing it. So, yes, I believe angels can appear to people today, but we should not go around seeking them. We shouldn't worship angels and pray to them. We should appreciate God and worship God and give thanks to him for him giving us angels that have protected us throughout different times in our lives when it seemed, miraculously saved from a car wreck or a terrible accident. We should appreciate and be thankful for the angelic involvement there. So if you enjoyed this video, again, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and check out the other videos on the channel. This is Rev C saying God bless you. See you on the next video.